Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to another episode of Top Tier Talk. This week, there was goals, shocks, and surprises. The one thing that wasn't a surprise was Man United failing in the Premier League and the Champions League. So, Chavez, take it away.
We drew, but we lost, and then we lost. We played Galatasaray in the first game, which was one of probably the most important game of our season up to this point, and we didn't do good enough. I thought both clubs were an embarrassment to the Champions League, the image of the Champions League. As much as it was an entertaining match to watch, there was absolutely no tactics. There was nothing going on. Both teams were just going for it with absolutely no anything. I don't know. I don't even know if the manager was talking during the game. Both sides, by the way, Galatasaray as well. I don't think they deserve to go through either. I think Copenhagen are a strong team and they've looked quite good and they look like they belong. Our teams were just freestyling it in this competition. I mean, as much as it has been entertaining the first 5 games, every single game is just a calamity. Each game is messy. Anything can happen in the next 5 minutes. 2 goal leads don't feel like 2 goal leads. They feel like 0.5 goal leads. And that's genuinely true. It does not. If we have a 2 goal lead, it doesn't mean anything. And we don't have any defensive capability. The one sole reason why we're not in the Champions League, to be fair, this season will now come down to Onana. Onana, this was probably the worst campaign in the history of the Champions League by our goalkeeper. He's going to be the sole factor. I think Ten Hag is not to blame for this year's Champions League run, as much as Onana is. And Galatasaray, they capitalised. I thought Ziyech didn't play as good as everyone made out because, I mean, the 2 goals were just Onana goals. And yeah, that's all I can say about that game.
Do you regret De Gea still? The De Gea
No,
comments? Because I reckon
no.
De Gea would have done better in the Champions League than Onana, as you said, the worst with the goalkeeping campaign.
I don't think Onana's made a mistake as bad as De Gea's one against Sevilla last year.
Really, because he made 2 in that game, or probably worse.
But collectively, could you look at, because I saw Goldbridge talking
It
about, I
must
think
be
it was
more.
Goldbridge, and it was, yeah, so if you was to, like, he has single-handedly across your group games cost you Champions League football. Is this you're not blaming Ten Hag, but you could look at his tactics, you could look at subs, you could look at, I don't know, for example, Maguire making a mistake or whatever. But across the 4 or 5 games you played already, I'm saying,
Consistently.
Maguire's been pretty consistent, like
Maguire's been
7 out of
unbelievable
10.
in the
I
last
just
5
used
games.
him as the first player that came to mind. He probably has been your best player over the last 6 weeks. He was just the first player that came to mind, obviously from critique from your fans. But yeah, was it 4 or 5? No, 5 games in now. You got one game left, haven't you? He has probably made 7 or 8 errors over those games that have
No
cost.
more mistakes than probably De Gea made last season in such a short space of time. Which is easy. In a short space of
If
time.
you pull out a De Gea there's a De Gea movie. Like it actually
I
stars
saw
with
that.
But that's
R
over how
rating.
long?
It's an
Though?
hour and a
This
half. If you did an Onana compilation, it would last 10 minutes at
This
best.
is 3
And
months.
that's based
though.
off
This is the
yeah, that's
first
based off
3 months.
You
De
could
Gea
do
one's only based
relativity.
off how many years?
Well, either I'm not defending Onana. I'm saying Onana, but why bring De Gea up? De Gea's still a
Because
child,
De
by the
Gea
way.
is the
He's
main.
tweeted more emojis this year than he's played matches. He's
Yeah.
tweeted an emoji straight after this last game he
Chavez,
had when he's not played a minute.
Chavez, I have a question though, just for United's performance. As you say, like going into those games, those are the most important games to kind of further you into the Champions League next round. Obviously, Onana's probably like up there as number one to blame. Obviously, you know, there's some mistakes that obviously can't go as a mistake. You got to be able to do that, but obviously you can kind of look towards your strike force as well. I know in your player ratings previously you've rated like Rashford and Martial as a complete maybe 1 or 2 in the past, and recently as well you've rated them as a 1 out of 2. Could you both put like your attack force and Onana in the firing line, or is it just Onana?
It's a weird one. We're a very difficult team to analyze because in the Champions League, I think we've almost scored the most goals. We're only behind Arsenal because Arsenal scored 6 recently. We actually had scored the most goals leading up to that point. In the Champions League, our attack's been fine. We score goals for fun. In the Premier League, it's the complete opposite. And then when you go into defense, Onana almost has the most clean sheets in the Prem. It's very weird. It's so inconsistent. And then you suddenly have to start asking questions about up there, what Ten Hag's actually telling these players, because once we go into that Newcastle game, that's where I'm going to actually properly criticise Eric Ten Hag, because that whole game was an embarrassment. In the Champions League, I think Ten Hag has genuinely coached the team well to win games. It's their own resilience, mental, I don't know what it is, but they can't defend. Even though the defenders don't actually have bad performances, our midfield gets overrun. There seems to be an attitude problem in the team, which I don't get why in 2023 you have to question the attitude of a Man United player, let alone, I mean, you should be questioning the attitude of an Ipswich player in the Championship, but we're talking about Man United here. it's just a joke. Questioning attitude is the last thing you want to be doing, but you have to do it. Anthony was good. I'll talk about the positives. By the way, we actually played well in the Galatasaray game in terms of attacking. It was probably one of the best attacking performances. Garnacho's first goal was brilliant. It was a great team goal. Bruno scored a banger. Anthony was really good, and there was some other good performances. Manu when he came on, but when you have a keeper like that, you can't do anything. It's against the run of play. Do you have any more questions about this Champions League game?
Well, I was gonna go on a minute. Oh, mine was just
no,
more.
I don't really have a question. No,
Okay,
I think we covered everything to this point.
I was going to say, yeah. What's obviously, I'm looking forward to next season. Do you reckon you qualify for a European tournament next year, or do you reckon that's?
Oh, you mean like from the
Yeah. In terms of Europa League, Conference League, whatever it is, because obviously it's two sides of the coin. It's you get knocked out now. You've got no extra games. Obviously, you've got the FA Cup and whatever, but there's no longevity in the Champions League, which is obviously a harder tournament for teams like yourselves and Chelsea and Arsenal because of the level of competition. But then it's like, does that then, as you said, bad atmosphere, negativity, individual bad performances carry on into the Prem? Can you see? Obviously, you look with Newcastle results, which obviously we'll get onto and things like that. Do you reckon that hinders you?
I would say. I don't still see Ten Hag being sacked, but if it carried on the way it is, because even when we win, it's not a good performance. It's never a good one. I think we would end up coming 9th or 10th. It probably would be our lowest finish since post-Fergie. The only differential now left for me is this January window in which Ineos are supposed to come in. I keep hearing next week. There's an issue with lawyers. We're supposed to have new ownership on the footballing side of things. It just depends on what type of difference they can make and who they can recruit in January, because I'm sure if there was none of this happening, Ten Hag would get someone from Eredivisie to, paper the cracks, and that wouldn't be good either.
Curiosity,
so,
moving on to January, is there very quickly any positions? I'm not going to ask you to name players, but any positions you're definitely looking to strengthen or need to strengthen from your end, goalkeeper firstly, and so on?
Yeah, definitely. We need a striker who's experienced. This is going to be a similar thing that we did when we got Igalo and Weghorst. We need another one of them, just hopefully better. Maybe like a Cavani type signing.
Lukaku?
No, Igalo. Taremi's the one that I think we could get, but it depends because we'd even want to leave to
get Ron back.
I don't think any player in world football should actually come to us if they want to better their career. But if they want the name and I played for Man United to their kids 20 years down the line, come to us. But yeah, we need a player like that first and foremost. Aside from that, maybe a centre midfield player because we keep getting injuries. We just need another midfield, another body, and obviously the right centre back, which they decided not to get, and got Johnny Evans.
Also, I just touched on midfield just as a final comment. But McTominay's having a hell of a season.
In terms of what hell?
No, as in like a hell of a season, as in like a good season. Like he seems to be like
a country, sure. I don't think you're watching.
What are you on about?
No, in terms of like contributing towards your club.
Okay, Dan. I don't tell you about. No.
Goal scoring is not his main attribute, obviously, but he seems to be popping up with more goals than the rest of the team.
So, this is why I said Galatasaray is shit, because in that game against Galatasaray, McTominay scored, you're right, but no one picked up McTominay for the whole game. And to be honest, it's either an instruction because they know he's shit, so you can leave him unmarked. But McTominay should have got a goal and 3 assists minimum. The fact that he hasn't is another embarrassment. He wasn't marked. He literally had no one with him the whole game. It's just... These stats you're seeing, he doesn't... Dan, he's anonymous. Don't say he's a good season. Scotland-wise, sure. He's poor.
Speaking of poor, I suppose, moving on to last night. Newcastle 1, Man United 0.
Yeah. All right. So this game is the first time where I actually now think, if I was to predict the future, I think Ten Hag will be sacked for us on the 17th of December. Unfortunately, I think he will be sacked. I don't think an ownership happening in the next week or two is going to change that, sadly, because for them coming in, they're going to see what's about to happen, and it's not going to be good. So basically, in this game, my biggest issue with Ten Hag was, first of all, he picked Rashford. Everyone knows everything about Rashford right now. He's an embarrassment to the sport, let alone Man United. Someone like him, who's got this privilege of playing for Man United, 350,000 a week, and to have by the way, he's English, so he gets protected anyways. BT Sport, an English organization, did a whole segment on him not pressing. Imagine being English and letting yourself be that shit to allow for that to happen. Fair enough if you're black or other minority, they'll be in on you straight away. Remember Pogba, but you're an Englishman and you had a whole segment on how you don't care. Like that, do you know how embarrassing that is? And he let that happen. So well done to him. But him being picked as Ten Hag's fault because it was obvious he was shit. Anthony played well, should have started. The other thing was we complain about not playing from the back. There's a whole issue on Varane not playing. We had in 6 days 3 games, and Varane didn't play a minute. And okay, you play Luke Shaw at left centre back. The player you play there for the reason of passing out from the back with your goalkeeper you signed to pass out from the back, and you don't pass out from the back. Now, the only issue here is if he's not told Onana to do that, kicking the ball long, then Onana has defied him. He's decided to kick the ball long every 5 minutes, and that's against Ten Hag's instructions. In that case, Onana should be removed from the club, or at least subbed in the game. I'm telling you, Ten Hag has told him to kick the ball long. So that straight away, why play Luke Shaw then? Why play a player that you play there to play out from the back? Why not just play Varane if you're going to play long? That's where Ten Hag's, it's questionable. I'm not manager, but it didn't make sense. So this is why I was going to say, I also thought Newcastle were poor. I think Newcastle have to learn themselves. The fans are slowly adjusting to realizing they're a big club. They are a big club now, and they will be, whatever you want to say. That wasn't a good performance from them. They should have won 5-0. The fact they didn't is poor, because the fact that in the last 1 minute could have changed, and we actually had a disallowed goal and it could have been a draw. Newcastle should have done much better. They were poor as well. We were embarrassing, like an all-time low. But the other thing was we have a week where we're playing Chelsea. I think we'll beat Chelsea. No offense to you. Aside from that, we're going to play Bournemouth. I don't know about that. Then on the Tuesday we play Bayern Munich at home. Bayern Munich haven't lost a group game in God knows how long. We are shit in the Champions League. We concede 3 goals minimum every game. That could end up being 0-6, 2-6, 2-7, 2-8, whatever you want to call it. Then on the Sunday, we do the one thing that you don't want us to be doing. We play Liverpool at Anfield. If we come out of that game 4-0, I would, with open arms, take a 4-0 loss right now, because that's not embarrassing. That could be 8-9-0. I'm not even joking. And that is where Ten Hag gets sacked. I'm so sorry. And it's a shame. It's genuinely a shame. But I don't see Ten Hag being Manchester United manager on the 18th or 19th of December,
Mate,
Christmas time. He won't be managing.
A couple of issues I've got with Ten Hag, as you said, with the Varane situation. And there's too many falling outs with players.
Yeah, and Amir, he's contradicted himself, because the whole Rashford thing, they asked about it and he was like, oh, we'll talk to Rashford internally. Why didn't you talk about the Ronaldo thing internally, the Sancho thing, the Varane thing? Why with Rashford are you now saying that you're not, like, why can't you just criticize him? Doesn't make sense.
Favourites, like a bad
atmosphere. We played Rashford on the right, didn't he? I completely feel bad for Anthony. So we've all been critical, especially yourself, after a great game against Galatasaray.
I hate Anthony. I personally have an agenda against him, but he played well.
And he looked good when he came on against Newcastle as well. Didn't really put much of a foot wrong. So I don't understand the issue of not playing him. I think Dan's right with Rashford. I mean, last year was just
massive purple patch.
Massive purple patch. There's obviously an issue there. I don't know if his mind's too off football or whatever, or he's just generally not the franchise players that you guys expected. But there's obviously an issue. It's too many inconsistencies, too many seasons. It's way too many.
Is it another case of Jadon Sancho where he's got to go to a camp out in like Norway or wherever he went in order to come back to the
Maybe he should just work with the government for a bit and just,
Yeah, what was that thing that you put in the sent to us this morning?
That was a joke.
Oh, is it actually a joke?
That was a joke. Yeah, that's not true.
No, obviously not him paying the money, but like charity work. I presume that was something that he'd be doing, but obviously based on everything that happened.
And by the way, Rashford's PR team always has an answer on Twitter for everything. This week they've been they're silent now, because what else? What's left to happen for Rashford to make him?
You lost. Who did you lose to? Was it you lost in the Manchester Derby club in the night that night, weren't he?
That was his birthday.
Yeah.
That was his birthday. If you had a bad day at work, it's your birthday. You're not going to say.
He apologized. I mean, that's the thing. He did something Sancho still won't do. He apologized straight away.
You think if you bring new management in by that time, Sancho could potentially still have a Man United career? Or is it?
You know what? It's going to be. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. If what I said happens, then there will be obviously Ineos comes in.
And who would be the replacement as well after the follow up? Who would be the
Maybe Steve McLaren for a few weeks, just because he's the assistant. There is no replacement, but when sometimes people say the managers are indestructible, I don't believe that. I think there's certain results that you just don't escape. Like Oli, genuinely, I think Oli, there was a long-term project, and then we lost 5-0 to Liverpool. We lost to City. I think if you lose 8-9-0 to Liverpool, 12-13, it gets to a point where, and if Liverpool do put in a half decent performance. I'm telling you, 4-0 would be a great result for us. Like what's happened historically there, 4-0 would be fantastic, but
Can't have
it
another
could genuinely get
7-0
scary.
2 years in a row, can you? That'd
Seven
be
wouldn't be too, but 7 would be okay. It's when you start looking at 9-10.
Moving on from Chavez not wanting Ten Hag to be sacked to thinking he's going to be being sacked within the next couple of weeks, to Elliot being Arteta out to presumably Arteta in.
Agenda continues.
6-0 in the week, and yet again another victory in the weekend in the Premier League. So better week than Chavez. Take it away.
Yeah. 6-0 against Lens.
Camera Lens.
Yeah, and then 2-1 against Wolves. There's not much to say against Lens, unfortunately. Like as you saw, we just pretty much dominated that game. When they came to us, we pretty much set it in stone and just basically went, let's just make sure we get through the group, and we did. So now we can go ahead against PSV on Wednesday, I believe, and we can just pretty much play like El Neni, Reece Nelson, and play like a half decent team, still get them Champions League minutes, but then rest our like important players. Hopefully Rice gets, I know he's like an integral player, but he's playing every single game for the past couple of weeks, and I think he deserves a break, even though he's an absolute machine of a player. 6-0, as you say, it's written in stars. It's pretty spot on, that performance. I think the only performance that's ever topped that was it like a Liverpool one back in the day, who beat something at 8-0 in the group stage. So as I say, there's not much to touch on, unfortunately for you guys. But for the 2-1 performance against Wolves, I can pretty much say for that one, it's a good, 3 points to 3 points is great. We can always say this every single week. If we win, it's fantastic. But for the first kind of 45 minutes when we played, great first half. I have no complaints there. But as soon as we went 2-0 up, we kind of lost that killer instinct. We went 2-0 up and got complacent. Zinchenko at left back is he's slowly being found out. And it nearly made us get found out like badly in the last kind of few minutes against Wolves on Saturday, sorry. Because we went, as you say, 2-0 up, and then we kind of sat back a bit. And then in the second half, we kind of dropped off a bit and kind of let them have the ball a lot more. And then as you saw, they scored in like the 86th minute, and we started to get a little bit of sway like armpits, you know what I mean? Because we're thinking, bloody hell, like this could go wrong. And where does it come from? Zinchenko mistake. Do you know what it is? Like, because I know this has happened multiple times in the past. For example, where Zinchenko's kind of at fault for the goal. I think feels like he has too much time and confidence on the ball at the time, and he forgets he's kind of playing left back. So if he loses the ball, then it all goes tits up. But I guess I think what we kind of need to drive into our team is, because if we kind of get 2-0 up, don't like stop there. Just keep drilling into them and keep kind of having that killer instinct to go 3, 4, 5, 6. Because if you go into the second half 3, 4, 5, 6-0 up, then you can kind of do what we did against Wolves in the second half and kind of sit back a bit and kind of like relax a bit and conserve our energy. But as I say, we kind of just dropped off within our first 20 minutes.
Well, Chavez said, I was going to say, Chavez said 2-0 scoreline. We all know it. We've watched football for years and years. 2-0 is not a brilliant scoreline, because if you go 2-0 up early on, teams tend to sit back and get complacent and make mistakes, and just even lapses in concentration that they don't score from. Even if you give them a sniff of a chance that they miss, the other team gets a rocket up themselves and starts believing they can get one. And if they get one, it's, as I said, 2-1 with
fans are on it, teams are on it, morale's
up.
up.
5 minutes to go. Scoreline, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd rather be 3-1 up than 2-0 up, because you've scored the extra goal. Yeah. Also, just to touch on your Zinchenko point, do you think that comes from playing under Pep and in City in such a dominant side that even if he messes up, they're already 4, 5, 6, 7-0 up? It doesn't matter. Or if they go 1-0 down, they know they're going to go on and score 3, 4, 5, 6 goals. Do you reckon that's where the complacency comes from, or do you reckon he's just that sort of player that's just? Do you know what I mean? Like, just
not a natural left back though, is he?
He's not. He's not a left back. As I was about to say, he's not a natural left back. I think he's more like a central midfielder. I think that's where he plays for.
He used to be attacking mid.
Yeah,
there's still a 10 for you.
And what it is like when you give like a ball player kind of like that kind of ability to run forward and then they mess up. If you give that time to the attacking midfielder, obviously you've got the defensive midfielder and the fullbacks to kind of cover them. So it's not the end of the world. But as you say, when you get Zinchenko as a left back, obviously, as you say, he's played as attacking mid in the past. He's played as a centre mid for Ukraine. So he still thinks he can still be able to do that. But if he gets that, if he does make that mistake, they're through on that right hand side and they can just chip through ball. And if someone's in their box and they have a magic number 9 in there, he scores.
Was it Liverpool that you cost you? Was it Liverpool? It was Liverpool, wasn't it, at Anfield? Last year, was it last year?
I'm not sure.
And it was you were 2-0 up or 1-0 up, or like coasting, and you were 2-0 up and you threw it away and you finished like 2-2 or 3-2 or something. It was Zinchenko. He got hooked early, didn't he?
No, 3-2 in the end. I think we beat.
No,
Was
because
it
you had a
3-2?
chance to play it through. No, you missed right
No,
at
we
the
beat
end.
them at our place at 3-2. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. It
But
was
yeah, I know
at
what you mean.
Anfield. He got
Yeah.
hooked really early. Bits
I
like that.
guess it's kind of it's tough really because obviously us as fans can see that. We can see it as Zinchenko's getting like kind of a bit ballsy on the ball, and it's kind of up to Arteta really, because then if for example he sees that, which I'm hoping he does now, I hope he sees like he needs to kind of have a word with him and say, look, relax on it. But if he doesn't, maybe he has to kind of like 60th minute bring him off, put Tomiyasu at the left back, Ben White right back, and kind of let that back four sit as it is. Because Tomiyasu, Saliba, Gabriel, and Ben White is a solid back four. They're like natural defenders. So if you want to kind of set in stone the game and but obviously see if we can kind of make sure their like job and scoring is even harder, then do that. But you can't kind of like say, oh, Zinchenko's at fault for everything, even though because obviously mistakes happen and every time, like, but obviously it's just continuously starting to happen recently, isn't it? Like he seems to be, I keep saying it, too complacent.
You say that, but you're still winning games, and that's what.
That's what I said at the start.
You
3
want to
points is
play
3
crap.
points,
If you
but it's
play
just
crap and still win,
that's
you
what I'm
get
saying.
over it.
You can always pick on these podcasts. You can always pick on the nitty gritty. Do you know what I mean? You can always pinpoint like VAR. You can always like zoom in with your like binoculars and just go, right, he should have done that. He should have done this. Do you know what I mean?
Hindsight's a wonderful thing.
But exactly. Whereas if you kind of wanted to sum it up in 2 seconds, you could usually say Arsenal, yeah, we should have solidified it in the first half, played a bit dodgy in the second half, but we got 3 points, end off, bang. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, so with your midfield, I really like your midfield. I think you're quite blessed in one of the signings you made. I was gonna say about Declan Rice. I think he might actually be the first £100 million signing that's been signed into the Prem that's actually worth it.
Yes.
Once his career ends, he's the only one I think in terms of in the Prem. Obviously, we've had Neymar and Mbappe and all of them, and Ronaldo, but into the Prem, £100 million signings, he's the only one. Where would you rank? We haven't seen it. We've, I think, in the Community Shield, you beat Man City, right?
Yes.
You had Rice, Partey, and Odegaard, but we haven't seen it because a certain Thomas Partey doesn't want to get back.
I know. I don't know.
Where does that midfield rank in the world? If fit.
What if we've got our full midfield? So we've got Rice, Partey, Odegaard.
Odegaard. It's that three, yeah. Who beats them? Because it's actually
not many.
Real Madrid.
And they haven't even really.
Reals does.
Who's Reals? What, Bellingham?
But Bellingham does he count?
Is it Bellingham, Tchouaméni? We've got Kroos and Modric, haven't they? Got loads of them.
Yeah, they just interchanged, haven't they?
You don't even know what their best one is, yeah, because they've
got about
maybe Real Madrid's and that's it. But then we're a very close second.
What about Barca?
Cities.
No, we smack Barca's midfielders.
City.
City.
Rodri, KDB, and
KDB. Yeah. Fucking KDB's been out for so long. Forgot about
but
that.
If you
I'm saying a strong second place. I think that second.
You can't say that for KDB if you haven't got Partey.
No, but that's
what is
this one saying.
Rodri, KDB, and
Bernardo. Yeah, that's fucking strong. But I'm still
top six.
Probably third. I'd say third best.
Third in the world.
Third in the world.
What about Barca's?
We're better.
What's Barca's? Pedri, Gavi.
Pedri, De Jong. No, Gavi's out now, isn't he? Pedri.
Yeah, but if you're picking KDB,
you said KDB, yeah. So
Partey's out.
De Jong, then, right?
Pedri, Gavi, and De Jong.
No, yeah, I still pick our midfield over that.
No, I'd say Arsenal's is better than that, just because it's more balanced.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. I think third best in the world.
Do you reckon?
I can get. You're more than who else do you think's
better?
Oh
no, I was just.
No. Musiala.
Kimmich, Musiala.
Rice, in my opinion, is better than Kimmich.
Right?
I think Rice is better than Kimmich as well.
Partey's better than Goretzka.
Yeah. No, he's not. No.
Mate, the only battle out there is probably Musiala for Odegaard, which I can see both sides. But of the other two positions, it's Rice and Partey.
So Odegaard's still better.
That's what I'm saying. So I think third best.
Well, I'm sure we'll be
so happy.
He's gone from having midfield.
Yeah, I know.
El Neni and Partey.
Thank God for this. I know, my God.
You know, it's so good that you can't. It's so good that they can't even play with this midfield. It's so handy to the rest of the league because Partey is injured. But
yeah, but do you not think that's kind of strange though? How, let's say for example, Partey's out and everything like that, and we still are winning games. Like we're still quite dominant in that midfield.
Yeah,
that's what teams that want to win the league do. Doesn't matter. Oh, you said it was shaky towards the end yesterday. You win. The Arsenal 2-3 years ago would have drawn that game 2 or lost 3-2.
I agree. But this is what I'm excited for in January as well, because I'm hoping that Timber comes back into training, because that'll be a solid kind of defender to come
Timber's
back.
Timber's the best signing of the summer.
That's what I'm saying. Solid kind of defender to come back into rotation. Partey's coming back. Smith Rowe's coming back. Yeah, and if we get a striker.
No, I was saying if you're an Ivan Toney away now from winning the league my opinion.
I agree.
I don't
we
think
did
you'll
another-
get him. I don't think you'll get him.
Well,
I'm hoping you don't get him. I really
Not
hope.
until summer, I don't think. I don't think Brentford would.
Well, I mean, he's
Unless
in
Yeah.
our eyes, isn't it? But I think, like, as you said, Arteta thinks he wants him in the summer. But so
Well, I
we'll have
think,
to see.
Amir, you asked Chavez before we move on. So, Elliot, I'll ask you. Coming up to January, what would you improve? What do you think you need? Not necessarily
I thought he was going to
players.
set Arteta out.
No.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Striker, as you said.
And number 9, 100%, true out-and-out striker, as Chavez said, like someone who knows their job as a striker to flood that
If
box.
you get your Tony,
And maybe just like if it can I hint at the idea as another central midfielder to fill in for Partey.
Just
Partey looks like
a left back as well, maybe.
I've had a lot of rumors.
Nah, left back's fine, I think, because when Timber comes back, you can play left back. Tomiyasu can play there.
I'm praying for AFCON.
I think a true number 9, like an out-and-out striker and a central midfielder.
Fair enough.
Because then obviously, if worse comes to worse, Rice comes like injured, I'll be so depressed. But we can obviously have something in the summer.
If you were to get Tony, let's say the dream happens, would you sell Nketiah in January?
Yeah, 100%.
I think Elliot was driving Nketiah to wherever he's going in the world.
Even if we don't sign Tony in the fucking January, I'll still get that boy out of my club.
By the way, well done for Havertz as well. He's got a little purple patch. He did score again. We see this at Chelsea.
Amir, we're a tiny bit closer to you wearing that Arsenal shirt in this podcast, mate.
It's true now. The City dropping points.
We'll see.
What did you say? Was it Champions League or Prem?
Champions
League was it?
If they win the Champions League after that episode, after the pod,
no, we're through to round 16.
Out round 16 based on history.
Amir, what if they also win the Prem and do the double?
I don't care. I've made my.
He has to come out in public.
I'll wear it as well. If you win the double, I'll join him.
I got loads of shirts spare. Dan
will wear it next episode happily.
Dan just wears it.
He's got a spare one anyway.
Gagging for it.
He's got one, yeah.
Moving on, I propose to. So we've had Man United throwing away the Premier League, I suppose, top 8 race, as Chavez put it, and the Champions League. Arsenal pushing on to potentially winning the Premier League and getting a mirror and an Arsenal shirt. So moving on, Chelsea 3, Brighton 2. Unfortunately, no European football for you, Amir, this season.
No, so kind of a blessing. 1 game a week, so one less, or half the less
stress.
Chelsea game to watch. Yeah, exactly. Very interesting game. Firstly, from 100 million player to another. Enzo first and second Premier League goal for Chelsea. Start of hopefully a little run for him. Obviously, GNA for him is less important in the position he plays as a deep line player maker, but obviously 100 million, everyone's going to look at it. We were poor in the game, though, very poor. We have a big discipline issue, as Chavez said, for Man United. I think Chelsea got the most yellow cards in the league now, and now obviously 2 games back-to-back, both our captains on the pitch have been sent off. So obviously a lack of experience and a big issue there that Poch needs to try and address. We were really poor in the game. I mean, Brighton were very good. And whenever you watch Chelsea play recently, we're going to leak goals. We're obviously not good defensively, so we're very lucky to outscore Brighton. And at the end, there was a VAR call, which obviously did not hit Colwell's arm that was rightly overturned, which was good. But yeah, I think Brighton has kind of been like a bit of a mini rival for us because we've taken half their players. So it's a bit of a tension in this game. Obviously, we took Potter as well from them last year. So yeah, we got the win. I guess that's just a step forward after the Newcastle game. So I'm just taking the win, not looking too much into the performance because it was awful, and just moving on and looking forward to Man United. I've seen some Chelsea fans on Twitter saying, oh, the performance, this, that. We've got the win, get over it and just move on. There's been too many times we've played well in games and not come out with the 3 points. So this is a good change.
That's the difference. Obviously, Chavez earlier, like for example, Man United aren't playing well, and they're not always coming out with the 3 points. Obviously, so I know your Chelsea aren't at the minute; they're very, very up and down. But you can play terrible, but the just win the game, or the worst point, don't lose. If you come out with a point and you play terrible, it's fine. As you said,
it's something I was admiring.
That's what I'm saying. You can put like the binoculars on like all the small mistakes that everyone made throughout the game. But as I say, you can sum it up in 2 seconds. We played dodgy. We did this, but we came out 3 points.
That's the thing I'm looking at. We beat a very good side.
A good team. Yeah.
A very good team, I think, Brighton. And
another goal for João Pedro as well. May I add? Just chuck in Elliot, the Martinelli competition.
He's just on pens. He's been scoring pens.
Well. He did score.
Doesn't matter.
Fair play to him. In terms of Chelsea, obviously, there's a little criticism of obviously Enzo recently. So it's a very good getting for him, and he was probably our best player on the pitch, to be fair. So hopefully it's a little run of him showing what he truly is about, because I know, and a lot of Chelsea fans do know, he is an absolutely quality player. So hopefully he gets a lot of rival fans off, because it's the price tag that's kind of defining him right now, to be fair.
I was going to ask, so for us, Man United, we've played a 20-odd games this season. I would say we've had one good performance against Palace in the first round of the Carabao Cup. How many genuinely good performances do you think Chelsea have had this season?
Very much a lot. I think especially against the top 6 sides, the big 6 we call them, against Arsenal, against City, against Liverpool, we could say we played very well. Obviously, you see the Lutons, we went 3-0 and stuff, play well in them. I think we've definitely got a handful of games we've played very well in. It's the teams, the Nottingham Forest teams, the Villa teams, the low block teams, which we've been very, very poor in. And even this game today, even though we did win, we would have been very poor. But I think against the big 6, we are generally looking very good. I think we've got good records this season.
This is why this is the myth right now. The table, you're going to see a change. Like, we've had one, and you can name a few. If you have any, do you have any more questions about this game?
About this game, not so much. Well, unless you guys do, obviously.
I don't really care. Okay, let's go into United Chelsea combined 11.
Before we do that, can we? Are we going to pick up the Spurs Man City game, because that was a crapper?
Before we do that, I want to ask you a question as well that Chavez asked me. Obviously, January coming up, and there's winter transfer. Are you going to sign anyone?
Obviously, hopefully. I mean, you can never have too many signings, so obviously we'll be looking to Todd Bowley to spend some money. Is a striker, as you said, we need an Osimhen. Is going to be an Osimhen, isn't it? Really, for us, and an Osimhen or
if you can attract Osimhen, then
I think we can 100% attract an Osimhen, and I think we can pay it. It's just if we do it in January or in the summer transfer window, and with FFP as well. That's probably the main thing.
I suppose I touched on the City. Should we just time travel back to midweek? Probably the most controversial thing. PSG deserved to win the game. That's never a penalty for PSG.
Oh yeah, we can talk about that.
And I appreciate you laughing, and everyone is on Twitter, and it is funny that it's given against Newcastle, bearing in mind everything's going on.
It's unlucky.
But in terms of,
should never ever be a penalty.
In terms of the sport, the fact that that's given, and someone's job, someone at work has gone, yeah, that's a pen. They're wrong.
My bias aside,
decision go wrong. If it's a high pressure game, isn't it? If it goes wrong, like.
Yeah, but my bias aside, it's never a pen. If he's literally running towards the ball like that to get some forward motion, bounces off his rib cage and goes straight onto his arm. I don't know what you want to do. What you want him to do with his arms? Quickly chop him off before the game and attach him back on afterwards. I don't understand.
I think though, I just wanted to see if you'd agree or disagree. I suppose no other real shocks or anything in midweek. So I suppose on to the City game.
City game, obviously. I think it's just a given now that Tottenham will either get a draw or a win against.
They're always a bookie team for City, aren't they? Yeah.
I think they're the City's bogey team, aren't they? Every time. Yeah. And I think just the main thing is the decision at the end. That was awful how he didn't carry on with the advantage for.
I was going to say I want to apologise for saying that there's corruption against Man City in the league. I was actually being too nice to the IQ of the referees. They are actually just stupid because that decision was so stupid against Man City. So there is no corruption anyway. They are genuinely just not right up in the head. Football.
Yeah. And fair play to Tottenham, because Tottenham got so many injuries, so many.
It's a great result for us, by the way.
Sorry. A 3-3 against them. And is it anything to look into for City? Because they've only beaten at the big 6. I know I keep going back to them.
They've only beaten United.
Man United.
Is that something to look into?
Well, no, I can pick.
But there's City. They'll go on a run of not losing the next 22
They don't always start well. When
De Bruyne comes back, could this be?
Yeah, as soon as he's back.
Fair enough.
They just click. Combined 11.
Combined 11.
Finish off.
Manchester United versus Chelsea combined 11. Goalkeeper.
Premier League match.
Oh, no. Premier League match. Yeah.
Premier League match. I know.
Yeah. Onana's almost got the most clean sheets in the league.
No, I wasn't going to complain. You can have Onana.
Yeah. Sanchez. It's like battle of the idiots.
I want a new keeper. That's another January I want a new keeper. Give me the hair.
What about Jason Steele, mate? He looks like a steal.
No, I don't want to.
That was terrible.
No, hand me down, Brighton.
Hand me down from Brighton again.
Right backs. Obviously, there's another big issue for us because Reece James hasn't played 3 games in a row since.
But it is
It's Reece James.
Let's do overall. Yeah, Reece James.
Okay, we'll give Reece James. Centre backs.
Thiago Silva.
Who's your best centre back?
I'd be inclined to pick Colwill. I know he's played left back.
Not that good. Colwill's
nowhere near that. I don't think.
I think Thiago Silva.
I think T Silva.
Just about.
Come on, I want to hear from you. Who's the other centre?
Thiago Silva and Harry Maguire, if I'm honest.
No, it's
Yeah.
Martinez.
Are we basing off this? Yeah, we.
Yeah.
What are we basing this on?
Available players. Is Martinez available?
Oh, okay, fine. Available. Is Reece James even available?
Yeah, I think he's back. So it was a double yellow. Yeah.
You've got to constantly keep up to date because he could be injured.
Yeah, I know he's always out for some reason.
He probably is injured, but
Maguire then. Maguire,
yeah.
definitely.
Unless you want to do a overall, whatever works for you.
Nah, let's just do now.
Left back,
So we do
Maguire and Thiago Silva.
Maguire, Thiago. Left back is obviously going to be a Cucurella or a Colwell for us, and you've got no one, so I think I can win by
Luke
default.
Shaw.
Actually, Dan, we don't have anyone. Luke Shaw's just come back and had one good
I
performance.
think it's got to be Colwell, right?
Yeah.
I'll back that. I did say a centre back, so
Okay.
I'll take him at left back.
3 in midfield now.
It's not going to be any donkey for United, no offense. Well,
This
it's not any
is
donkey
pure
for Chelsea either.
Give me Scott. Give me Scott.
Caicedo.
Caicedo.
Caicedo, Enzo.
Okay,
Bruno
Enzo gets a
Fernandes.
shout. Fair enough. Enzo can be in
Bruno
there.
Fernandes midfield, and I don't know why you disagree.
Bruno could be in there. Fine.
Bruno is in.
Yeah.
But
Bruno
who's
is
the
in.
What
last
about Manu?
donkey? Okay, I'm
Just
happy
come
about that.
back.
Manu's quality.
What about Enzo? Manu's been better than Caicedo. I mean, Manu's not
But
actually.
he hasn't. Caicedo's been good. Caicedo has been good.
How's Caicedo been good?
Bro, why has he not been good? Why has he not been good?
Okay, fine.
Alright, so if you
We
wanna
don't
do
actually have
Manu,
anyone else. It's actually
listen,
pathetic. We have no one else to
this is
offer.
the majority
Ericsson?
vote.
Ericsson,
No,
McTominay.
No, Ericsson, we don't
so
know.
who's
from-
Mason Mount.
There's Mason
No.
Mount. Okay, if you
Who's-
want, it's a majority vote. If you guys want Manu in, we'll put Manu in DM. But is Enzo?
Who's
Enzo's
Yeah,
Enzo's
yeah.
in.
So do you
No,
want Manu?
Enzo's definitely in. Enzo and Bruno are definitely in him.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
DM
Yeah.
then. Manu or Caicedo? I guess you two decide.
Manu.
I'm going to vote Manu.
I'll go
Manu.
Manu.
Yes,
Okay,
Dan. Yes.
Manu is the defensive. We'll see how TikTok.
I'll be
reacts.
honest, Chavez, though, it's not looking good for your attack.
Attacking
Why?
wise, left wing is Sterling, 100%.
Yeah.
Striker is Nicholas Jackson.
Yeah.
Mr. Astrid
He is terrible,
What
but he's been
about-
banging
what
goals. He's
about
been banging goals,
Hoyland's-
Chavez.
What about Hoyland's Champions League goal?
You based
Huh?
the Premier
Jackson's
League
champ-
at the start. It's good.
0 Premier League goals.
He wanted
crazy.
Premier League
fine, yeah,
on
you can't be in it. You can't be in
And on
it.
the
Hoyland
right
can't be
wing,
in it.
and on the right wing, Cole Palmer. Easy.
No, Amir, what about Garnacho?
Oh, he's got a
No,
little.
Look at him
No.
smiling as soon as he said that.
No, we didn't even consider putting Conor Gallagher in because Conor Gallagher
suspended,
had a
innit?
great season. Yeah, but he's suspended. You're right.
Yeah, he's a donkey.
That is
I
that.
think
That is
Cole
the message.
You know why? Because he would have definitely got in. He would have actually gone in for mine.
It's Cole Palmer right wing. Easy.
No, I would put Garnacho left wing. We'll put Sterling on the right.
I think Cole Palmer's been Chelsea's best player.
Okay, it's up to you two then. That's my vote.
Palmer.
This guy's just anti-Chelsea.
What? It's just because it's just English, isn't it?
Then I would have put Rashford in the team.
But it's because Garnacho's never going to get in
Sterling's
because he's
English
so
anyway,
hated.
so it's like for life.
Garnacho is agree. Yeah, I think Garnacho gets a shout in this team. I do agree with that.
Right, okay.
Nicholas Jackson up top because he has been banging goals.
Yeah, Jackson's in undisputed somehow, even though he's dead as well.
He's terrible, but he in. Yeah. Garnacho on the left and Cole
No,
Palmer on the right. Cole Palmer on the
Cole
right.
Palmer is a.
Well, no, Sterling's. Who's had a better season first of all, Sterling or Cole Palmer?
Cole Palmer, I'd say.
Sterling.
Sterling.
Palmer just scores pens. Yeah.
Sterling's been key for us, but
Dan, it's up to you.
Cole
How
Palmer
badly
is
do
the
you?
Well, I
right
said
wing.
Palmer.
I'll concede Palmer. Just penalty matchup. Okay, Palmer on the right. Sterling on the left.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. As I was saying, like I'm just basing it on
That
kind of
is,
what's
I
happening.
suppose, that is it. for
Palmer
the mess
will
of that
never
team.
score a goal. He will never score a goal as good as Garnacho's. Neither will Sterling.
That
Neither
is
will
it for the-
Jackson.
Neither will
That is
Haaland-
it for the rest of the-
Haaland
Neither is
probably.
anyone
Right,
Who
no one's
cares?
ever going to do it again. That is it for the mess of the 11 and the great episode. Thank you very much for watching, and until next week, goodbye.